Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I want to make a couple of videos. These are going to be a little longer. First one, I want to talk about why I chose the 75-inch 900E over the 940E, which only comes in 75 inches and is also an absolutely amazing television. Um, and the second one, I want to give some advice to um, a viewer of mine, Bilkin Blaze One, I think. I'll just call him Blaze, as to what he should choose, the 940 or the 900. He's having the same dilemma that I was having in search of a 75-inch unit. So here goes. I started my high definition TV watching gaming in 2013 with a Samsung 55-inch 6400F series. It was a 3D television, 1080p. And it was a great little TV. I say little. It's a large TV. I wish I'd gotten a larger one, maybe something like a 60-inch 7100 or even the 8000, but those were a little bit out of my price range at the time. But now that 4K has matured some, I still consider myself an early adopter, but we're getting a whole lot more for our money these days for 4K than when they just came out about 4 years ago. Um, but having said that, I was actually I decided instead of immediately upgrading my 1080p to go ahead and wait for 4K to roll around. And after looking at a lot of televisions, a lot of different sizes, I noticed that resolution wasn't that noticeable on most televisions unless you went for the much larger TVs. But those were super expensive. I remember looking at a KS9000 and it was close to 10 grand for that, and that's not a television I could afford right now. So I waited a little longer, and lo and behold, the 900 series, the 900E series, came out from Sony, and these televisions offered a lot in way of color depth and resolution and clarity, and in the case of the 900E, even motion. Now, for a while, I was convinced that I wanted to get the 940. The reason being for the superior picture quality. Having gotten a 6400 Samsung, I wasn't completely satisfied with neither the size or picture quality of that television. I didn't think it had that 3D pop like the 7100 or better yet the 8000 series had. So I wanted to make sure that I really got not just more pixels in size, but a really big noticeable increase in image quality. And so that's why I started looking at the 900 series, which was the first series. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was actually looking at the P series from Vizio for a while, but I wasn't crazy about the picture quality, even though everybody was raving about it. And it was the first television at its price range that supposedly offered good blacks and HDR at the same time. I think it had over 60 zones or something like that. But I didn't like the fact that it had no tuner and it didn't have a interface on the screen. You had to interface with a little pad, so not everybody could. If you're scrolling, if you got a couch full of people and you're scrolling through Netflix, not everybody's going to see what you're looking at. So I wasn't a big fan of that. So I waited a little longer, and lo and behold, in 2017 came out the E series. And I thought for the first time I was seeing not just accurate colors from Sony, but deeper, more saturated colors with a lot more depth. And the prices have started to fall. I've noticed the higher end keeps falling a little bit more and more every year. Now, I was dead set on getting the 940, and the reason being is that it had an exceptional image of very bright whites and very dark darks, which I wasn't used to in an LCD, an LED LCD. That's typically something that you saw with OLEDs, but in the case of the 940, the colors were much punchier, and the whites were much brighter, and the television in general was brighter. Just an amazing, amazing picture, and a lot cheaper, I should say, than OLED. I could barely tell the difference, in fact, between the 940 and the Z9D, which is an absolutely a monster of a television, but it's so expensive that I won't even get into the motion aspects of it because I can't afford it, in all honesty. But I could afford. I had a $3,500 budget that I initially started with, and one of the reasons is that I saw a Vizio television, 75-inch, for $2,500, and I thought I would gladly pay an extra $1,000 for a 4K 75-inch television if it had HDR, which of course this unit did not. And actually, that's I think 6 months later they came out with the P series, the 75C PC or something, P75C, I think. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So when I saw that you could get a 940 with the X1 Extreme processor, which had the better upscaling, the best of the best, I thought, okay, well, it's worth saving up an extra $1,000. It's $4,500 instead of $3,500, but you're getting a television that's like no other, and it's going to last you a good long while, or so I thought. And so time comes, and as soon as that bad boy dropped to $4,300, I turned to my girlfriend. I'm like, we need to seriously talk about getting this thing. It's going to be time. It's I think it was sometime late August or early August, somewhere around there, and we were really looking at getting that 940. It was around that time that I ran across Whisper Status 74, and he actually had both of them in his living room. Now, I'd heard about the motion issues with the 940 before, but a lot of people just kind of blew it off. They downplayed it and kind of went on about their day and said this is an excellent television with probably the best HDR for the money, to which I still don't argue with that claim. But he was saying that when you're gaming, you're going to see some motion blur, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And for the money, you're going to probably wish you made a different choice. And he eventually returned his 940 and got the 900E, which I was floored by that decision, because once you see the 940, you really don't want another television. So I started doing some research and tried to get some answers from Best Buy, but that was difficult. Now, they did do a motion test on their top 4 TVs, at the bottom of which was the 900. So you had the 900, the 940, the Z9D, and their A1E. And they ran the soccer ball test, and they also ran a test with white bars, or black bars, I should say. And what I got out of it was, yes, the 940 does have some substantial motion issues, not too much more, though, than the 900. And apparently OLED can't do white, because that screen was gray. Even my girlfriend could readily see that. She said, she was pointing at that thing, and she said, it's one of the most expensive TVs here, and it can't even do white. But that's beside the point. OLEDs are great televisions for what they do. I'm just not a fan. Anyways, getting back to my point. So what we ended up having to do, we wanted to test it out on a console in a friendlier environment, but in Best Buy you couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it in Magnolia either. So we ended up going to a place called Star Power. We live in the North Dallas area. It's a nice little neighborhood, but we're in an area where there's a lot of nice, really nice neighborhoods, and with a lot of people with a whole lot more money than we've got. And so this place, Star Power, caters to that crowd. And you go in there and they treat you like a king. They had actual individual showrooms where you could go in, and they actually let us hook up my PlayStation 4. They provided us with demo discs for movies. We brought in our own movies, our own video games. And we tested that 940 for like an hour and a half. And at first we put on the black frame insertion so that we could see the smooth gameplay. Unfortunately, with black frame insertion, you get a dimming effect on the television, which isn't really that big a deal. But when you start to think about it, if you're going to pay that much more for a television, that is supposed to be super bright, to dim it down just so you don't have motion. To me, motion issues. To me, that was just a little bit of too much of a compromise. And then they took the black frame insertion off, and the blurring was fairly bad. I guess you may say that there might be a little bit of blurring when you look at this image, but it really isn't very noticeable at all. If anything, it just looks like a really fast-moving image. But on the 940, especially when I was playing Battlefront 2, the blurriness was pretty apparent, and it did distract from the gameplay experience, and you didn't feel like you were truly getting the kind of quality that you would expect from a television that expensive. Now, I've got to say, television shows and movies were absolutely mind-blowing. It was unreal. It was so good, in fact, that it actually made up my mind for me on the 900, because I thought, if the 900 could do 95% of what this 940 is doing, I'm sold. And it doesn't have these motion issues. Now, at the time, they were now, I've heard since that it's an 800 nit television. I couldn't tell you 800 from 1,000 to save my life. All I know is that supposedly, type of television I had, with the SDR, 1080p, 55-inch, 6400 Samsung, that they were probably in around the 100 nit. So when I look at this 75-inch monster, it is mind-blowing how bright it is. I remember one of the first movies I saw was actually 1080p Blu-ray, because it was before I got the Xbox One X, which is a whole different story. I remember watching The Desolation of Smaug is the first movie I put in for whatever reason. I wanted to see what the dragon looked like on a 75-inch. And I remember the scene where Smaug asks Bilbo in which way he'd like to die, and he opens his mouth, and right before he blows fire, that screen right in the middle of his mouth got so bright it darn near blinded me. And I felt so immersed, because I'm like, I'm standing in front of a dragon who's about to incinerate me. And I'm telling you, there is no way my television, my 55-inch, could get anywhere close to that bright. So as far as brightness is concerned, this television is super bright. Now, with the HDR compared to the SDR, I will tell you, yes, it is dimmer. That's for sure. And I'm pretty sure with the 940, you weren't having these issues, because I was in a room that was actually a little bit more lit than this one, and that television, again, it was out of this world. It was something else. So that's basically, what I did. I knew I would be getting an amazing cinema experience, and I knew I'd be getting an amazing gaming experience. And if you look at this, if you could be here in this living room and see what this image looks like, the depth that it has, the pop that this LCD, LED television has, then you would know that this is the best choice for gaming. In 2017, definitely. In 2018, for now it is. There is a new little wrinkle in this argument. This is I'm going to get into this in my next video for Blaze, and that is the 900F. And I've got my little girl whining here. I'm going to show you guys this little munchkin that doesn't let me get a video done, but we're just about done with this one. But this is her right here, and she constantly demands attention, and I'm just going to have to set her down here and let her do her thing. Now, baby, you go lay down, okay? You let Daddy make his video. That's my little girl, Mimi. All right, so next video is my advice. 900E, 940E, or, again, the new wrinkle in this whole dilemma, the 900F. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. All right, in just a bit. Bye-bye.